everybody, welcome on Watch This Dice for a new battle report. I played another practice game version 3.0 with my Infernal Dwarves against the Dwarves, the Dark God of Xavier that you saw a couple of battle reports ago. We had the occasion to play on the live table, so for me it's obviously a pleasure to be able to give you a battle report with real miniatures. So list-wise, we had a couple of changes. I think, last battle report I kept the Bastion with the unit of Warrior and Core, but I wanted to bring something that I liked this summer, which was the full Blunderbuss Core. So I brought that back, 2 units of Warriors with Blunderbuss, one with the Thrice-branded banner. Then I have a very cheap magical setup, the Lamassu Scholar with +1 channel, who has 3 spells, and then we have Vassal Conjurer, Adept of Pyro. So basically I finally decided to remove the Master Alchemy to go for cheap Adept of Pyro to see what it can bring to the list and to have much cheaper magical setup. I think I still have plenty of spell to use from range and also in close combat, so that's perfect. I kept the 2x6 Incarnate, which I like a lot, the 3 Anointed, then we have Vassal Cavalry a bit bigger to be able to have some more wounds for the Vassal Conjurer to go in it and not be targeted. And then I wanted to try out the Infernal Engine. I decided to pick the Rocket Battery option because I felt between the Blunderbuss that should be enough to make some damage on big infantry that might want to come close to me, and I felt the Rocket Battery is a good threat for the big monsters, so why not? Can also shoot from further away, so definitely a good argument to use this weapon. Naphtha Thrower would also have been an option, but I felt let's try the Rocket Battery first. And the engine, basically the idea is also, since I have a BSB on an Infernal Bastion that might be a target, 8 wounds, resilience 6, 3+ armor save. Then I bring something very similar in terms of resilience, also 8 wounds, resilience 8 this time, which will force the opponent to make some choices. So I think I like that. Also in case I might face War Machine, that would be also something the opponent might have a choice to make, and the engine is not easy to deal with due to the resilience 8, so I wanted to try that out. Xavier was still playing very similarly than the last time, the 2 big Warrior Knights, the big brick of Barbarian. This time he brought a second Moulding Giant, who was a big brother on Tribal Waspy. So basically the idea of this guy is go into the brick of Barbarian to add some rank and to add some high strength attack, so very interesting. And he kept a very big magical setup. We played Secure Target and secondary objective, so this time we played it right, which is 1 point here, 24 away from the board edge, and the other one here, 24 away from the board edge. So that's how they should be placed, which basically allows you will see later, but basically you can put a unit in the middle, because if you have a look at both lists, I have only 1 unit that is 550 points or more, and my opponent has 2. But if I place 1 unit here in the middle, I can be within 12 of both. So at the moment, that's something that works to contest potentially both or to score on both. So basically I will have the central unity in the middle to be able to play for both points. Then you have the spell selection. Also worth mentioning, secondary objective. We had I had unleashed the big guns, so I needed to do 10 wounds or more in a single range damage phase, I think shooting phase. And my opponent had killed the beast, I think it's called. He had to kill the single model with the most wound, and since I had 2 with 8 wounds I could choose, so I gave him the BSB because I felt he's going to target the tank with his magic, so I might as well give him the BSB instead of the tank, which I think will be harder to kill than the tank. Magic wise, he picked obviously Touch of the Reaper and Soul Blight to target the tank, and then he has some good combat buff. He has also the Icon to get an hereditary to threaten, for example, Incarnate. So quite interesting. Quickly, matchup analysis. I felt this time that I have equal combat power, which is a good feeling against Dwarves the Dark God, not something that I always had in a Warrior Infernal Dwarves matchup. Most of the time I had to minimize a little bit the aggression, try to get rid of some unit before I can move on to the table. It's not so easy. It's often the couple of first turn a bit tricky, more on the defense approach, and then I can start to establish a counter push. But it's not always that I can really look him in the eye and say we have similar combat power. And basically here I felt it was the case. You will see at the deployment. My shooting could do damage to his list. I think I have good tools, AP3 shots. The tank should do wonders against the giants. So this should allow me to move forward. Obviously I need to be careful about the barbarian block because he has a lot of ranks, and that could be something threatening for my bastion who plays on the ranks. Secondary, yeah, the central blunderbuss, the big block, could score both, so I think that's definitely a good argument, and I felt slightly positive for me, but it could also be a standoff match where it could be hard for both to really engage, because like I said, similar combat power mean it will be up to the one able to break the distance basically. Deployment wise, so I won the roll for side that gave him the impossible. You see the 2 tokens are all the secure target that we need to get. And then we are deployment cornerstone, which is the one you put 1 unit, 6 from the middle, which was this one, and then you need to get 1 left, 1 right, 1 left, 1 right. Xavier elected to drop everything for first turn, so from left to right he has Horseman, then the unit of Knight, the Exalted Herald. Next to that it's the big unit of Barbarian with the Giant in it, and also the Barbarian Chieftain who was the General. Second unit of Knight, the Mage. And then on the far right, next to the Impossible, the Giant, Strength 6, and a second unit of Barbarian Horsemen. My counter deployment. So I went really in front of him actually. I made basically here in the middle you can see a shooting base. I have this unit of blunderbuss able to score both points once they move a bit forward, so that was nice. All my shooting together, especially the tank here to block the block of Barbarian, and then left and right some Kadim Incarnate, the Vassal Cavalry unit, Lamassu in the back, and on the far left my Torque Anointed. I debated, I could have also put the tank on the right, but I felt the tank need to be close to the bastion. I think it's much more effective this way, and was key for me to block Exalted Herald and the big giant and the Barbarian block, who is very threatening with a lot of ranks. So that's what I want to try out. And basically unit of Incarnate here on the right are really here to block the angle and make sure that he cannot push too much forward. So basically I want to block these 2 units with 1 unit of Incarnate. That's the idea. And then establish strong position in the middle and get into a shooting position in the second phase. Let's move on. Turn 1 Warrior, he pushes forward obviously. With everything, yeah, forward to me, gets into magic range with the mage to target the tank. Magic phase, he got Touch of the Reaper on my tank, which is a D3 on a 4+, and he managed to do 2 wounds, which is nice. Then he got Hereditary on my Incarnate, managed to do 1 wound on the Incarnate here on the right. And that's it about his first turn. My first turn, I move a bit forward to get within 12 of both. In case I get engaged, I want to be able to start to score, so I get within 12 of both. Then I get my Incarnate up like that. I think, yeah, he left me with a 6 swift charge on the giant, which I didn't take. Could have been juicy, but I felt if I fail charge, then he can easily escape the line of sight. And even if I make it, I'm not sure to go through because I didn't get any flaming token on him. So it's going to be a dicey combat, and if I get stuck, then I get counter charge in the flank, and that's it. And it's a bit against the tempo of the game because this right flank, it's more I'm trying to slow him down, and going into an aggression like that and potentially losing the flank very quickly wasn't going to help me. So I didn't decided to do that. And then left flank, I went into counter position. I get my tank within 18 to start to kill some knights, because those knights, once you kill 2 or 3, it's not exactly the same unit. They are quickly losing some attacks. Magic phase, 5d3. I tried to cast the 5d3, so Pyrocastic Flow onto his giant. He dispelled that, and then I failed the ward save spell, which I wanted to cast on the tank to protect him, but I got Hereditary and I placed it on the cavalry here on the left, because I felt they're very far away from my vassal cavalry, so it's very interesting to get them flaming in the case to really block them with the Incarnate, who would be in a favorable combat with a Flaming Token. So very interesting to get that shooting. I do 1 wound on the Giant with the little bow shot and nothing from the tank. So those guys, boom, 1 wound onto the Giant. And most important, the Flaming Token. His turn 2 is still able to give me here a very long charge. I think I was out this time, so he was able to move around and be out of charge range, which is interesting. He debated a bit, could have maintained the standoff. He wanted, since we were in training game, he felt, okay, let's try to be aggressive. So he pushed the Barbarian on the hill and now forces me to deal with him because he's into position where he can charge stuff next round. Plays the Giant, as you can see. He took counter charge, so in case I would attempt any charge, I could be easily countered. So he makes sure that even if I send the tank and the Bastion and so on, I would be in danger. And then the left flank, as you can see, very interestingly, he keep those guys just to punish me in case I use the flank unit to do something else. So those guys could be very effective on the charge in the flank. So I cannot allow them to recharge in the flank of, for example, Incarnate. So in the magic phase, I have some choices to make. Very interestingly, he tried to cast the ward save spell on the Barbarian block, which is quite key at this moment, because obviously my plan will be the charge for me is not an option. Too risky, he has counter charge everywhere, and I'm not going to win in combat. My strength is in shooting at this point of time. It's too early for me to engage. So basically, I'm going to use my chaff to chaff these 2 threats and then give me time to shoot. So basically I want to shoot in the Barbarian block. So obviously my first priority is to get the tank and all the blunderbuss. They can all target the Giant because he's attachable. So he's in the unit, but he's not war platform, meaning I can put all my shot on him and basically make sure I kill him because he's a big threat for me. And the tank doesn't need to move, so I'm actually shooting on 4+, no movement. Then it's going to be on 3+, because he has both a lot of ranks and size 5. So basically, okay, nice shot on 3+, and then multi-wound 2, plus 44 shot of strength 5 should be enough to deal with the Giant. But if he gets the ward save spell, then the Giant might survive and could potentially charge everything in front of him. So I don't want that. So basically, I dispel the ward save and I let him have Soul Blight, who will do another 2 wounds to my tank, which is okay. It is acceptable for the moment. I really wanted to get those shots without any ward save. Let's move on to my turn. So, like I said, I'm going to chaff both units. So basically, it's chaff with both units in the flank. He has no overrun, even if he charges also with the Giant, so that's perfect for me. I don't move the tank. I move a little bit. My blunderbuss to get everybody needs to be in range of the Giant, so I need to be within 12 with everybody. Yeah, my mage is here in the back, ready to chaff if I need to later. And I keep the Incarnate to block, but also have line of sight here a little bit in the middle. I don't know if I could have moved them. Yeah, I couldn't have moved them much more. I felt not so happy with the move, because I think I move a bit in the back, like you can see. And I think the right move, since the cavalry is chaffed, the Incarnate could have been maybe, I think it's because I wanted both to cover the angle for here not moving out of line of sight and have a line of sight in the middle. But I think I could have been a bit further up, in a better position maybe. I don't know if I can still look at the right. Obviously the Barbarian in the right were a huge issue for me to have to cover them basically, and I didn't like that because I wanted to have my Incarnate in the center to counter the Knight, but I struggled to get both positions basically. That's about it. In the left side, I just place Incarnate and anointed everybody in a counter charge position in case he would attempt to charge the tank or the Bastion. I would have counter charge with both, so I think that should be enough. Magic phase. I tried to get Pyroclastic Flow on his Giant because I have a Flaming Token, so I felt that could do a lot of wounds. But I failed it on 4 dice. Then I got +1 to hit on the tank, which was really nice. And yeah, I think that's it. In the shooting, I one-shot the Giant, so I have the tank shooting on a 2+, 3+, multi-wound 2. And then I have to put all my blunderbuss shot to kill him. I made one little but very important mistake. I put all the shots, I made my roll to hit, and actually now you need to split the number of shots that you might want to put in the unit. Also, I think the first mistake was I shot with the Vassal Levies into the cavalry to put them a flaming token. I think the right target would have been to try to kill one barbarian, just to make 1 wound, and then I can make the 9 wound of the giant with the rest of my shots, and I make my secondary objective, unleash the big guns. So that's the first issue that I had. Since I didn't do it, I should have split some blunderbuss shot into the barbarian, but I think really the right decision is to shoot with the cavalry. Most likely I will kill one, and that's it. My secondary objective is done. So I killed the giant, but a little bit of overkill, and I could have split a little bit my shot to make sure I get the secondary, because I won't have the same occasion later. It's going to be much harder to do. So not perfect. I forgot about it, and it was too late when I remember. His turn 3, he double charged my vassal cavalry, who passes a terror check. Other than that, yeah, he moved a bit forward on the right. He gave me now a 5 swift stride on the cavalry. I will also have a 5 swift stride on his cavalry here. So I need to make choices. The problem, if I fail the charge on the left, then the unit on the right here can flank charge me. Obviously a huge issue. He could also flee with those barbarians, so we will see what he does. Left flank, yeah, he pushes a little bit, but still respect the tank with Exalted Herald. In the magic phase, he plays ward save 5 up on the cavalry here in the middle to basically make sure that I don't charge with Incarnate. And then he made the Touch of the Reaper on my tank, and I dispelled Soul Blight. The Touch of the Reaper this time did nothing to my tank. Close combat, he killed my chaff. My turn 3, I chaffed the knights again, and I attempted the charge on a 5 swift, so it's a little bit more than 50% chance. Fail it, unfortunately. Very annoying. Very annoying. Yeah, the charge against the knight I think was a bad idea, because like I said, if I fail charge, he would have charged me in the flank with the barbarian, which is way too dangerous, so I didn't like that. I could have also pushed, but yeah, it's hard, because to still give him a front, get into a nice position, I could have also just moved like some position here and give him a front for all units, basically. That would have been an option, and then ready to counter charge with the Incarnate. Would have been maybe better than the charge, I would say. Then my blunderbuss chaff his giant here. Here I chaff the knights, and I'm going to shoot with my tank. I find the position here, and the tank move a bit in the back, ready to counter charge here if I need to. I have that as a counter charge as well. Those guys covering them. So yeah, really a lot of counter charge everywhere. I didn't really manage to put my Incarnate too much into the game. A bit frustrated about the right flank as well. So not perfect, but I still have chaff to buy me time, and now the moment will be try to kill the giant. I have again 4 shot on a 4+ from the tank, wounding on a 3+, making multi-wound 2, and then I have all the blunderbuss shots, so 24 blunderbuss shots on the giant. So yeah, it's about what, 8 hitting, and then wounding on 4, so should do 4 wounds. And the other one, it's a bit dicey. I shouldn't kill him. I think I made only 1 wound until now, so it's still a bit too much wounds, but you never know. If I spike a little bit, that could be something. I could have also, I think, I'm not sure about the overrun and stuff, but I could have potentially turned around 90 degrees this guy to be able to cast some flaming magic onto him. I think that was doable. Anyway, magic phase. I tried to do this time the pyro flow on the barbarian. Yeah, that's why. I wanted to reduce the rank of the barbarian, because they're a very similar amount of rank than my bastion. So basically if they charge me, I could be in danger of losing the steadfast. So I want to cast some spell on them. But I try the pyro flow. It dispel, and then I made some mistake. I think I had 5 dice left, and I made 3 dice the ward save on the bastion. I fail, and then 2 dice the +1 to hit. I fail, recover 1 dice I think in the process, and was able to do. Maybe I had 6 dice. No, I think I had. Yeah, maybe I had 6. I think I had 6 dice. 3 dice the ward save. Fail, recover 1. So 4 dice left, 2 dice +1 to hit on the tank, fail, and 2 dice flaming fireball on the barbarian, kill some barbarian, 2 barbarians. I think that was a huge mistake. I explain you why. So pyro flow, obviously dispel that, makes a lot of sense. After that, with 6 dice, I think the right choice is 4 dice the ward save on the bastion, because he has multiple charge that could annoy me. Basically, you can send the cavalry and the barbarian, and I think the ward save could be really huge in terms of saving some wounds in the combat. So I think the ward save should be automatic 4 dice. And then with the 2 dice left, we can discuss either I go for the cheap fireball to kill some barbarian, which I think is the right choice, or the more expensive +1 to hit on the tank, which I think is not that important because if the giants survive, he can charge into my blunderbuss. Obviously, I cannot stand and shoot, but I can reform with the twice branded banner, and I can still attack with strength 5 attack, and it's 8 attack to do the 2-3 wounds that will be remaining. Should be okay, even if I don't kill him from shooting. So I think here the key would have been just a cheap fireball like I did. So yeah, made some bad choices. We will see if this has some consequences. Shooting, I managed to do 5 wounds to the giant, so he's still alive on 2 wounds. Not so stressful because I should kill him in combat in case he charged me. And that's it. I think I killed another 6 barbarian with the bastion. So that was also nice. His turn. So he took a lot of charges. We have, very interestingly, he charged new rules of stand and shoot. So he charged with the cavalry and the barbarian. He makes both. And basically he contact with the cavalry first to make me stand and shoot against them. Once they reach the base contact, I need to stand and shoot on them. I made a very good roll. I killed 4 cavalry guys. So, amazing result. Didn't expect that. So 20 shots on a 5 and on a 3. And then he saves on a 4+, and I killed 4. So that was really amazing, obviously for me. But basically his idea was, I prefer to lose some knights instead of barbarian. That might be very important for the number of ranks. Remember, that will be the difference between like a 7 rollable or a 9 rollable. So obviously very important. He cannot chaff me with the left barbarian cavalry against the incarnate, so he sent the Exalted Herald to chaff me. Interesting. The tank is still unchaffed, so the tank will be able to countercharge, I knew that. And then those guys are able to just pass my incarnate due to the failed charge. Yeah, I think it highlights that it was a bad decision to charge here. Because now everything is going to happen in the center and my incarnate are completely out of the game. So definitely bad decision to charge. So yeah, disappointing. Magic phase. He got +1 ward save on the Exalted Herald, and I let that go because for me the most important is the combat in the center, so I didn't care too much about Exalted Herald. I don't need to charge if I don't want to, so I'm totally fine with that. Then he tried to 5 dice -1 strength onto my... he also charged with the giant, Giant charged the blunderbuss, and this cavalry charged the chaff. And he tried to get -1 strength onto the little guys, but I was able to dispel it. 5 dice against 5, so no -1 strength, just to augment the chance of surviving with his giant, basically. And then close combat, so I killed the giant with my little guy. So first I reform, boop, boop, like that, to get the +1 to wound. I had 8 attack on 3s and 3s, obviously that was enough. He killed my chaff, and then the big combat. I don't know if it was the right decision or not. I went into a challenge with my BSB against his general, so I challenged him. Thought process was his general could do a good amount of wounds on my unit, so I didn't want that. And basically I have a crush attack, I have 3 attack strength 6, so that could be something that harm his general. So I thought that might be interesting. The downside of that was the 6 dwarf on the bastion cannot strike against the barbarian unit. So I don't, as you can see, he has an exact amount of ranks, so I have only 2 attacks to try to kill one guy to break the rank that I need to break, which obviously I didn't do. So I managed to do, I think, 1 wound to his general. I failed the crush attack, my 2 dwarfs do nothing, I do nothing to the cavalry, he do some wounds to me. I was on 7 rollable and I stick. So now it's time for counter charge. I send the tank into the knights. I didn't send the Kadim because he has +1 ward save, and I turn around the second unit of Kadim, make sure that I can charge the Lamassu, charge into those guys to block them. Here I'm ready to shoot again, and those guys still ready to counter, so that's perfect for me at the moment. In magic phase, I try to get the ward save into my Bastion de Dispel. I got hereditary on the barbarian to help the Lamassu, and I got +1 to hit on the Bastion unit. Shooting, I killed 2 cavalry guys with the blunder, and then combat the Lamassu, lost by 1. I don't think the charge was the best option. Obviously, I would have tried to focus all my buffs into the main combat, so I should have just chaffed with the Lamassu basically. I think that would have been enough, but I stick on 8 rollable. It was a bit shaky because if I fail that, he can pursue, maybe get into a charge, get into successive combat, so I think that was too much of a risk, to be honest. What else? And then the main combat I win by 6, so I remember the tank roll quite good. He failed some good armor saves and I kill like 4 knights with the tanks. Then the crush attack do also 2 wounds on his war dice guy. So basically this time he lost by 6. It was like a 3 rollable for both, he failed both. The tank will not catch the knights, but he won't be able to rally because he's decimated and on the flee, so he will be destroyed. And the big unit of Barbarian, I run them down with the Bastion, so very cool. I end up like that, took a good amount of points, so now the game is really in my favor. His turn 5, he charged the tank in the flank, tried to pin me down and maybe finish the wounds. Charge the knights into my blunder. Here we're still stuck and I have counter charge. So here I also, we don't see it well because the Lamassu should be more forward, but the space here I left should be enough for those guys to charge in case I want to. And Exalted Earl just comes here in the back to threaten me. In the magic phase, he's going to get -1 strength on the right incarnate in case they go into counter charge. I dispel the ward save. Close combat, surprisingly, the 20 attacks here of Barbarian, I think they got 20 attacks on 2+, 5+, because the advantage position. 2+, 5+, and then I save on 3+. He managed to do the 4 wounds and kill the tank, so that was very surprising. He then just reform because no matter what I'm going to charge him with Incarnate. Maybe he might be able to flee, so that would have been his decision. And then we stop here the game because the Dwarves here in the middle were able to stick. The Lamassu was still here as well, so I had counter charge the way I wanted. I could have counter charge the Incarnate where I want. I can turn around the Bastion to shoot Exalted Herald, prepare those guys as counter charge. Those guys can charge obviously the Barbarian, who can obviously flee, but then I can obviously they are out of the game, and then I can bring those guys back to threaten the Exalted Herald as well. So we felt the game, we saw what we wanted, there was not much to play, and it was getting late. So that's where we're going to stop. Yeah, post-game analysis quickly. Both armies spreading along the table, playing wide. Maybe too wide, that was also the question for me. Did I spread too much? I felt I didn't play very well the right flank. The idea was right there, but I didn't play them so well. And the fact that he had 2 threats against 1, he split them very interestingly, which forces me to look both right and left. I think that's definitely the right choice you need to make. When you got 2 threats blocked against 1 unit, you need to spread them to force the unit to make a choice. And I made some bad choices, and at the end, the Incarnate were too much out of this game. Worth mentioning, on turn 2, we could have stayed in a standoff battle, and it would have been hard also for me to really push forward. So it could have been a magic battle, and then at some point, I need to activate my chaff and push forward with my shooting, try to get rid of something, but not so easy to be aggressive against him, due also to the hill. I was able to slow down his aggression thanks to the chaff, so that was very helpful. Turn 2 Infernal Dwarves. Should have slightly split the shot to make the secondary, like I said. Should have shot first with Vassal Levies, kill the Barbarian, and then kill the Giant, and this secures the secondary for me. Turn 4, key moment. I hold this time on 7 rollable. Last time I played Xavier, I failed it, and he ran down the whole unit. I had then a deadly counter charge with the tank, which was enough to break him. I think the Warrior list lacked some chaff to make his attack easier. He was basically just bringing forward the block and waiting for me, and since I had the chaff, I could basically, I had in control the tempo of the game and who was going to charge what at which time, and I could take the time to shoot some targets. Magical setup, I felt very good value for the costs. It's not that amazing, but it's not that much points, and it can also do other things like chaff. So quite happy about what I had, and I could also use like from distance, also from range. I was able to use, basically I have Pyro Flow, I have Fireball, Flaming Sword, all useful from distance. Hereditary, useful from distance, +1 to hit, also useful. And then as soon as combat starts, I can still cast Flaming Sword, Hereditary, +1 to hit, ward save. So both time I have Force Spell, very useful, so I felt the setup is very good value for the cost. And I really like the no-go area generated by the shooting, so the tank was definitely a nice addition to protect the bastion. Really, really nice. I like the way it went. Obviously it was a bit shaky, the 7 rollable. I think if I would have managed my magic phase better, and also maybe Xavier, we can also highlight the fact that he didn't cast any buffs on this key combat. Maybe a -1 strength, something like that, would have been the difference to make me check on a harder roll. So that was also something, but I think both we made mistake into this combat to get the right buff, basically, and me first, because it was before his charge. I should have made sure that I get the ward save spell to make sure that no matter what, if he charges into me, I'm able to stick. So that's really something to remember here. Don't take too dicey roll when it's a key moment in the game where you can lose a big unit, basically. Okay guys, that's all for this battle report. I hope you liked it. It was interesting to play, and talk to you soon for another battle report. Goodbye.